From our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Peter Murphy begins now.
An elderly man has lost his life after fire engulfed his South Burnie home this morning. Investigations are now underway to determine how the blaze started.
Erupting in flames around 1:15 this morning, it was police on routine patrol who noticed the Hale Street home alight. Despite quick action from fire crews, the man inside, believed to be in his 70s, couldn't be saved.
The fire was controlled or contained in approximately 30 minutes and unfortunately during the firefighting operation the body of a deceased person has been located within the structure.
Fire investigators are now probing the cause of the blaze, which broke out in the front room of the house.
What has actually happened in that area, that's still subject to investigation and we'll be working on that throughout the day.
The occupant of the house kept to himself and was rarely seen by the few neighbours that live in the street. It's understood he was renovating the house, which belongs to his Queensland-based daughter.
We never really saw him leave his house much. Can't even say we've seen him put the bins out, which is a bit unfortunate. We obviously seen people going there to visit him, but never seen him leave the house, unfortunately, so never knew him.
Neighbours telling 7 Nightly News that the man had been living at the property for at least 8 years. It's expected the home will now be demolished. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
Animal welfare groups have joined forces calling for a sweeping inquiry into Tasmania's greyhound racing industry. The RSPCA and Dogs Home launching a petition demanding the government look into the industry subsidies and animal welfare.
The minimum standards for housing are a great concern to the RSPCA, as are the ongoing issues around transparency in the industry.
The government says its recent racing regulation and integrity legislation will address integrity issues in the sector. A high-tech $8 million CT scanner will be left collecting dust unless staffing issues at the Royal Hobart Hospital are resolved. According to unions, morale in the imaging unit is at an all-time low and staff will refuse to operate the machine until pay and conditions improve.
This critical state-of-the-art medical imaging machine is brand new and it could stay that way.
We need more staff to run the machines that we have and more machines in action.
Unions claim chronic staff shortages are continuing to plague Royal Hobart Hospital's medical imaging department, with sonographers and radiographers burnt out and under increasing pressure.
We're fatigued and we're exhausted and we're frustrated.
We're exhausted as a workforce in medical imaging at the moment.
That's because almost a third of roles remain unfilled in the critical unit, an all-time high according to the union, meaning there aren't enough staff who are able to operate the machines.
That means that people are waiting longer. It means that tests aren't being done and delaying people's medical treatment is just totally unacceptable. And
there's no sign of that improving amid claims staff are fleeing to private employees and interstate, where hourly pay is at least $10 better at our public hospitals.
Currently these are some of the lowest paid health professionals in the country, and that's why we need the market allowance to be paid for these people.
The Health Department says it's working with staff and unions of recruitment to minimise impact to patients, including outsourcing to private providers where appropriate and the use of locums. Rebecca Gaidaneris, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian health professionals and union members are heading across the ditch in the search for answers to fix our problem-plagued health system. The delegates will meet with New Zealand counterparts later this week, taking notes on how they turn around issues following the 2010 Christchurch earthquake.
Tasmanian health is in a crisis and we can't keep going as we are. We need to do something different. We need to think outside the square.
They made their own rule book, and just through cooperation, listening to what the public have to say, I think that's the way forward.
The group hopes to bring back world-leading strategies to manage services in our own health sector. You might remember on Friday we brought you the story of a group of elderly caravan park residents who feared they'd be evicted by their park manager in a long-running dispute. Well, this morning their worst nightmare came true, the business telling residents 3 of them are being kicked out.
For the past 14 years, the Beauty Point Caravan Park has been home for John Dennis. But the disabled pensioner fears he's a marked man.
It's all we've got. we've got nowhere else to go. And it's going to be pretty cold living in a car.
Just last week, residents aired concerns about new rules giving management the right to evict without cause.
This is what we expected, and lo and behold, Monday morning, straight after the new rules, 3 evictions.
An email sent this morning says management has decided to tell 3 guests to pack up and leave, but won't say who's in the firing line.
Those 3 people, as far as we're aware, have not been notified.
Park manager Joshua Mantikas refused to comment to 7 Tasmania News, but his email says the individuals in question have engaged in a campaign of personal denigration against the park's directors. Even though the elderly residents have forked out tens of thousands of dollars to buy their homes, they rent the ground beneath them. Living on 14-day leases, residents can be given just 28 days' notice to leave, making the calls for law changes even more urgent.
We know that in other states, the legislation has been in place for some time to protect the rights of people who live in caravan parks.
It's appropriate that the government take advice and consider this to ensure that we don't have a knee-jerk reaction.
But Beauty Point residents fear help will come too late.
Timelines of 18 months and 2 years will not save anyone in the next 28 days.
Can you please do something to protect us?
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
More cycleways will soon be on our roads as the government invests in new community infrastructure across the state. 18 projects will share in a slice of almost $5 million thanks to Better Active Transport grants.
Grants are being distributed right around Tasmania, from Burnie to Lagana and to here in Kingborough.
It's hoped the initiative will encourage more Tasmanians to be more active in their transport options. From guide to sniffer dogs, there seems to be no end to the ways canine companions are helping humans. Well, now they're supporting Tassie kids as they learn to read. The new program using furry friends to overcome anxiety.
Meet Quincy, the pooch lending a helping paw for kids learning to read. The black lab trained as a guide dog but now guiding kids through books. The precious pooch is part of a Guide Pals program with St Luke's, aimed at helping to unleash kids' love of reading, but also boost literacy skills among young Tasmanians.
Encourage children to read books, have confidence to read books, even if they're shy, even if they're struggling.
7-year-old Ted Godfrey loves having fun with his new furry friend, already giving the program the paws up.
You think it's awesome?
Yeah. For many children, reading aloud can often be a daunting experience, but it's hoped having dogs like Quincy nearby will help make reading a little less scary.
We know being a confident reader really helps your health and overall well-being.
The one-on-one kid-to-pup sessions providing a safe space, hoping to reduce any embarrassment. Quincy is all ears, free of judgment.
The wonderful thing about reading to a dog is that they don't judge you. They just lay there. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to pronounce a word or if you're struggling.
But it's a win-win situation for both children and the dogs.
He just lays there and he loves a cuddle and a pat, so he's pretty much the perfect candidate for this.
Rebecca Gadineris, 7 Tasmania News.
As the TSL edges closer to the end of its final season, the future of state football has finally been revealed. AFL Tasmania mapping out plans for next year, with sights firmly set on the Devils entering the VFL by 2026. After months of speculation, the future of Tasmanian footy is now clear, starting with the launch of a new senior talent academy next year to foster new talent and keep them in the state.
It'll be the breeding ground for our VFL and VFLW players. This will give them the best chance to be recognised and the best chance to be ready.
The academy will regularly train in 3 regional hubs, spread across the south, north and the northwest.
It's only going to make them better footballers, be under the guidance of some of the best coaches across the state and to be able to train with the best players.
It'd be a great opportunity to be able to play at a high level in your home state.
Extra rep footy is also on the cards after 6 interstate games a year, giving players more chances to pull on the map.
It'll be a bit of a mix, but it'll be high level, high competition, quality opposition.
And a brand new regional series featuring the best from each comp following the success of the Women's All-Stars.
Where the best from across our Premier Leagues in all three regions come together.
AFL Tasmania hopes the restructure will give the Devils the best fighting chance for our VFL and VFLW entrants in 2026 and motivate star players to stick around a little longer.
Lit a fire in the belly, a little bit of motivation there to hopefully hang on and be a part of something pretty special.
Matthew Kuhneman is settling in nicely since arriving in Tasmania. The former Queensland Bulls and Brisbane Heat star thinks Tassie is on the right path, saying it was an easy decision to move down.
We had to sort of come up to their level and they were sort of, you could probably daylight ahead of everyone else. So, and what they're building now is really visible, and yeah, there's some really good players coming through it.
He'll play for Clarence in the Premier League. Fellow Queensland import Raphael McMillan signing on for South Hobart. And his European trip is reaping rewards for Wynyard rider Kyron Bacon. Back-to-back wins in Slovakia, seeing him take the outright lead in the juniors at round 5 of the Enduro World GP. Having only ridden 2 rounds, he's already 10th overall in the world standings, now flying home to take care of the Australian Off-Road Championship. If that result is anything to go by, Mirth, I think he won't have much of a problem doing just that.
That's for sure, Vic. He's certainly got plenty of talent. Now we've gone into the big talent pool of the weather department, and we found Kaya Wicks, who will join us after the break with the weather forecast.
Good evening. Hobart 13, Launceston and Burnie 15, Devonport 18 degrees, the state's top today. And in the 24 hours to 9 a.m, the highest rainfall recorded was 66 millimetres at Eaglehawk Neck. 16 recorded at Low Head today, 15 at Bushy Park, 14 at Friendly Beaches, Marai Island, St Helens and Grove 13, Flinders Island and Strawn both 12, 11 on King Island, Luncheon Hill 10 and 7 for Lyowini. Cloudy conditions were seen about much of Tasmania due to a low pressure system today. High cloud associated with a couple of low pressure centres are moving over the state and the Tasman Sea. Now that centre will remain to the east with the high remaining south of the Bight. South to southeasterly winds will increase up to 30 knots with southwesterly swells building to 5 metres. A gale warning has been issued for the far northwest coast. There is also a strong wind warning between Stanley to Sandy Cape. A warning also for damaging winds for King Island and parts of the western and northwest coast. A flood watch is current for the Styx, Huon, St Paul's and Cole rivers. Finally, a warning to sheep graziers in the southeast. Now the wet weather continues for week 2 of the school holidays. Hobart and Adventure Bay 13, much the same in Tarraleah, 10 degrees there. A shower also for Launceston and Bridport, 15, 16 and partly cloudy in Devonport. Partly cloudy for Burnie 16 tomorrow, cloudy also for Strawn 15 and a 50% chance of showers for Marrawar, 15's the top. Showers likely to ease in St Helens 14, although likely to persist in Swansea 14 also. Wet and windy forecast for Whitemark tomorrow. Wednesday, showers about the southern, central and eastern districts with snow falling to 800 metres. Thursday, showers about western, central and southern districts. Friday, showers will fall about the west and northwest, extending to the remainder of the north with just 13 the high. Fine and sunny in Perth tomorrow, 22, a shower or 2 for Sydney and Adelaide, easing showers in Canberra, but they're expecting a top of just 11 degrees. Cloudy across most parts right now. Hobart 12 degrees, Launceston 13 and 14 for Devonport. I'm just putting out a disclaimer here, Murph. I'm not taking any responsibility for the current weather conditions, and that's your job.
Actually, Cara, it's about time you started taking responsibility around here. That's our news for now. We'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.